Hello there, and welcome to GamePoints episode 145, your weekly little get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brand, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, we're going to be going over the whole TellTale collapse. There's really no other word for it. We have
Nonsense.
THQ Nordic being THQ Nordic, and some PlayStation Mini news. Apparently it's coming, and we're probably going to talk about the games we'd like to see on it. Before we get into any of that, however, did you do anything entertaining this weekend?
Um, I picked up Monster Hunter World on PC, and I was slowly playing through that because I put a ton of hours in it on PS4, and I finally hit the breakover point. Well, I guess I beat the game on Friday, so I'm finally to like the end game where I can do whatever the hell I want, but I'm actually caught up to my friends that were playing.
Yeah, you were
really
trying to
hard
play
on
through
PC.
as hard as you could so you can start doing stuff
It's
again.
just it's so rough to play through a game again. Like play through, especially something that has story and unskippable cutscenes that
It's almost like
before.
crossplay probably should be a thing.
Weird, right? But anyway, Sony being jerks aside, I finally got to where I can play the game and had a ton of fun and put way too many hours on it this weekend. That's all I did. I'm pretty sure.
Excellent. Introspect, thanks for joining the chat. Yes, you are on time, unlike last time, which I think caused for like the last 10 minutes or so. I got it coded in for a game that I'll be doing the review on. It is a big one, but I can't tell you guys what it is until Wednesday, when I'll be streaming a little bit of it here at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you look at next week's release schedule, it's going to be the biggest one that comes out next week. So I can't tell you what it is until Wednesday. At least I don't think I can. I need to double check the embargo information on it. But you could probably piece it together. So come in Wednesday to see some of that game being played live.
Oh, I can piece it together. I'm real good at Google. Hold on.
Yeah.
hold on.
Don't say it because I could actually get in trouble.
No, it's speculation.
It is coming out next week, though.
Yeah, see, you just gotta look at video games coming out next week.
David.
I'll find it.
Before I get my access revoked because you find something that you're not supposed to. Let's go ahead and get right into this. It's a horrible story all around. There's nothing that good comes from this, and that is just the sudden and, is it really surprising, collapse of TellTale Games.
Yeah, this was a weird one. This story came up out of nowhere that all of a sudden there's like 250-ish people that just lost their job on a Friday. Hey, by the way, we're closed. Get your shit. Get the hell out. You'll be paid up to today. And there you go. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Oh, and your health insurance expires in 9 days.
Yeah. In this article from Variety, because everything's coming from Variety now, headline, Walking Dead developer hit with 90% staff layoffs as 225 are let go. The team behind the highly successful, narratively driven Walking Dead video game adaptation was rocked with massive layoffs this week, with nearly 90% of the estimated 250 employees let go, a source at the company who asked not to be named told Variety. That information was later confirmed by TellTale. The remaining employees will finish Netflix Minecraft Story Mode interactive series in a decision the company is calling a, quote, major studio closure, end quote, according to an official statement. Employees were told of the company-wide layoffs starting Friday morning during a company meeting after TellTale board of directors made the call to move forward with the decision on Thursday evening, according to the source. The news lands just before the release of episode 2 of the final season of the studio's arguably most successful series, TellTale's The Walking Dead. Suffer the Children, which is the name of the episode, is set to release Tuesday, September 25th. The release of the rest of the final season is, quote, uncertain. The source told Variety. The following news of layoffs hitting TellTale CEO Pete Hallway issued the following statement. Let me scroll down here so you guys can read along once. That's not what I want. That's what I want.
He'll get there. Don't worry.
I'll get there eventually.
He's a
There it is
professional.
right there. I'm a professional. From TellTale CEO Pete Hawley. It's been an incredibly difficult year for TellTale as we've worked to set the company on a new course. Unfortunately, we ran out of time trying to get here. We released some of our best content this year and received a tremendous amount of positive feedback, but ultimately that did not translate to sales. With a heavy heart, we watch our friends leave today to spread our brand of storytelling across the entire games industry. And that is the good part of the story. And good in quotation marks. That's the nicest part of the story.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
the
were,
best thing that came from this, the fact that they closed. So
it,
that's telling on how bad this nonsense
a
is.
cursory look on Twitter shows multiple staff members saying, "Hey, I was just told I got 30 minutes to get my shit and get out."
Yep.
There were
Here's your
people who,
paycheck up till today.
yeah, there are people who literally moved their entire family cross country not weeks prior
Yep.
for the job, who were suddenly told you're gone. No
Also, keep in
seven.
mind that TellTale is in the Bay Area of California, where
Yeah.
rent is outrageously expensive.
Yes.
Completely insane.
No severance. Health
Nothing.
insurance ending in 2 weeks. Just fucking the rug was pulled out from underneath them. It is a fucked up situation all around, and it sucks for those guys. The games industry has kind of, the games business and a bunch of the publishers have rallied around the hashtag Telltale Jobs. A lot of people offering, hey, come do interviews. Ubisoft, disclosure, I know people who work there. Famously, very cool on them, put out a tweet that said, hey, drop by this BJ's restaurant at this time at this location, and we will buy you dinner and talk about job opportunities. Just
Yeah,
for
there's actually
anyone
been
who's
a lot
working
of
on there.
a lot of cool support on Twitter, especially of different game companies saying like, "Hey, we're hiring. Submit your apps here. Let's see if you're fit." Like, a lot of companies are actually trying to help out with these guys because it's such a shitty situation. But it just happened out of nowhere to them. I'm sure shareholders and the people in charge knew this was coming for a while, but for the regular employees, they knew things were bad, not that shit were closed on a Friday bad.
Right. And this is just the last bit in a long string of issues Telltale's had over the past year. If you recall, almost a year ago, they had to lay off something like, I want to say it was like 30% of their staff during a restructure. Yep. They
But
fired.
also keep in mind that Telltale was the company that we talked about, and we talked about this like a long time ago, that it used to be like a small studio. The first Walking Dead game came out with a studio no larger than like 40 people, I'm pretty sure. And then it ballooned, and they started having all these projects, all these licensed tie-ins. And then we checked on Telltale at some point, I want to say in the last year or two, and they had like 400 employees for a studio that, in my opinion, wasn't releasing, like, I didn't know why they needed so much. I didn't know why they were trying to release so many games at the same time.
They released so much in the past couple years, and none of it really did all that well. Let me bring up this goddamn chart here. This chart's actually really telling.
It was almost like a fatigue of Telltale style games, because the one big thing that I think we've mentioned, or at least I've mentioned every single time a new Telltale game came out, is all of these games stick to a very similar formula. They are story driven, which is awesome because they're great storytellers, but they all run on like the same engine. They kind of have the same vibes. They look the same. It's just you're there for the story, and I don't know that everyone needed that much of it that fast.
Burnout. And you're not the only one that got burned out on this. I'm going to bring up this table here. Go ahead.
You have the same kind of problem with like the Star Wars movies. A lot of people are like, there's one of those every 6 months, or there's a Marvel movie every 3 months. And I know for a lot of people that's fine, but it can be overwhelming or just fatiguey.
To give you an idea of how well or not well Telltale's been doing, I'm going to bring up this chart here. Now, as you can see,
this chart is rough.
Yeah, they released Back to the Future and Jurassic Park. Back to the Future sold over 500,000. Jurassic Park, not so much. Then The Walking Dead hit. Walking Dead Season 1. Over 3.5 million. Like, leaps and bounds higher than anything they've done so far.
Breakout content, for sure.
This
is what got everybody talking about Telltale. Walking Dead.
Drops down to like about a third for Wolf Among Us and Walking Dead Season 2, which should have been a warning sign if your second season of The Walking Dead's only selling a third as much as the first. But hey, they kept chugging along. But look at their later releases. And keep in mind, all this, from Walking Dead till Batman Enemy Within, this is within a 5-year period. And they released 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 games in 5 years.
Yeah.
Spread out over multiple months because it's all episodic. But you got Tales from the Borderlands, which is really good. It didn't even quite break 1 million. Minecraft Story Mode, that's the one that had the name Minecraft behind it. How do you fuck up having the Minecraft name behind you? Didn't even break 1 million.
How many people wanted a Minecraft story game?
Yeah, exactly.
People play Minecraft because it's not a story game, because it's a game where you just mindlessly build things.
But if you notice, sales kind of balance out between Minecraft and Walking Dead: A New Frontier here at what looks to be roughly 250,000 if I had to venture a guess there. And then after that last Walking Dead season, it just falls off a cliff. Guardians of the Galaxy appearing to have sold probably less than 100,000. Minecraft Mode Series 2 even less than that. Batman Enemy Within even less than that, it looks like. God damn, their sales just fell off a cliff. And you can't make... Like, think about how expensive it is to run a studio in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Visual Studios was closed down because of it. And
we talked about a ton of studios that have closed because they were in the Bay, or companies that had like satellite studios that just can't afford to pay people to live there. It's too much.
No, they can't. And your games aren't even breaking 250,000. It's unsustainable. It's bad. And that's why I say it's really a surprise, though. We all kind of saw this coming, and TellTale has been mired in controversy for the past year. Let's not forget the articles coming out with people saying it's a hellhole to work in with unpaid overtime and crunch like a motherfucker.
It's crunch without the breaks in between. It's just crunch into crunch into crunch into crunch.
With the former CEO was let go, and he's currently suing the company now. It's just... I never want to see people lose their jobs. This sucks, especially the scale of this. But is it really that big of a surprise? Beyond the initial, oh shit, that was fast. But when you actually start thinking about it and piecing together all the bits and all the warning signs, and that people have been harping for years for them, hey, fix your fucking engine, maybe slow down, perhaps have a more regular release schedule, because not all Telltale games had a brisk release schedule when it came to the episodic content. The writing was kind of on the wall. I don't think anyone expected to be this sudden when it went up.
Well, and no one had been talking about the sales numbers at all this whole time.
Yeah.
Except, high levels in the company, but that's not something like people weren't regularly reporting on it. And we do talk about sales numbers sometimes, and we tend to call out standouts, either for good or bad. We'll talk about games that, dang, Monster Hunter sold 8 million copies, and that's ridiculous. And then we have games that just didn't sell anything. It's like, this game has 8 concurrent Steam players, and we'll talk about that too. But Telltale was weird because it was selling just enough to not even hit our radar, and our radar is pretty fucking small.
Right. One thing I want to mention about that chart I just showed, it is from Steam Spy, so those are going to be estimated Steam sales, how it sold on consoles. We don't have those numbers factored in, but it will give you an idea of the decline of Telltale since that first game, or since that first Walking Dead game.
Well, and Walking Dead was based on a huge franchise at the time, and we talk about this when the game's released. When's the last one that you got excited for?
I didn't even bother with the third season. I didn't even bother. The fourth season's still coming out. Maybe that's while mentioning that, the people who bought the season pass to the fourth season, as far as we know, this upcoming second episode is the last one.
They have 25 people to finish this episode or this little part, and then I'm pretty sure it's done.
Those 25 people aren't even working on this. Those 25 people are working on commitments to the Minecraft Netflix deal they got going on. The voice actress for Clementine came out and said today, I don't know what's going on. From what I can tell, Season 3 was kind of in development, and Season 4 wasn't even been written on, and once you fire everyone, who's going to finish it? So this game could be just dead. That means everyone who spent money on the full season are fucked. Though Telltale did just now release a quick statement that roughly says, hey, we're going to try to work on a solution to get your episodes 3 and 4. But man, not only did they fire their people without severance and without any kind of warning at all, but they took everyone's fucking money who invested in Walking Dead Season 4. Admittedly, though, that doesn't seem like many people because it probably didn't sell too well looking at these charts here.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't seem like they're taking the money and cutting and running. This is like, we're bankrupt. We have no money left. You guys, we can't keep the lights on, much less pay you guys anything.
Yeah, but when I checked about an hour ago, let me just do a quick search right here real quick, too. Yeah, they're still selling the game on Steam as of right now.
Oh, perfect.
They're still selling
you can pay
Walking
full
Dead
price
Final
for a season pass that doesn't even have any guarantee that it's going to be released. That's cool. That makes
Just
sense.
everything about this is so fucked up on
But
so
here's the
many
thing:
levels.
who even works there that can turn off that sale on Steam? All that's left is a Netflix crew,
Doesn't matter. There's someone in charge. There is
right?
someone in charge somewhere. It's not like whoever is the CEO of the company currently. I can't remember his name. He forgets me. I forget him rather. He forgets me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I forget what his name is. He's still there. It's not like he packed up and went home.
Mm-hmm.
Someone can fucking make a call and go, hey, perhaps we shouldn't be selling this game anymore. They are saying, hey, we're going to try to finish it out. Like I just said, that statement came out not that long ago, but I get the feeling that could just be lip service to keep the lawsuits from coming in. Because people would go, hey, I paid $20 for this fucking game to be finished. You're only going to give me half of it. I want my $20 back. And they're going to go, well, we can't give refunds because we're bankrupt. And you're going to have lawsuits go out, and lawsuits aren't going to be effective at all because the company technically went bankrupt, and that means there's nothing to sue them for. But it's still going to cost them money to hire lawyers to explain that to people. And I think this is just a preemptive strike to go, hey, it might be coming. We're trying to work on something. But between you, me, and everyone watching right now, I do not expect this game to be finished. I expect it to be stuck in limbo for years unless they sell the IP to someone else. And if it does get polished off, I expect it to be done by a completely different staff. So who the hell knows that the plot's even going to be as coherent anymore? Because this is the Star Wars Episode 7 and 8 conundrum, where there was no real communication between the two. That's why the plot seems so fucking disjointed between the two episodes. Same idea here, I think. In my opinion. Time will tell if I'm right on that or not.
All right. Well, that's rough. Luckily, all we have left for this week is just a bunch of good news, right? Oh, wait, nope. Same shit happened to Capcom Vancouver.
In this article here from gamesindustry.biz.
This is mildly better,
Yeah.
but still upsetting.
Headline. Good.
Capcom Vancouver are the guys that made, I believe, the Dead Rising series came out of them.
Yes.
And also something else. What else did they work on? I don't know. Dead Rising is the big one though.
Yeah.
Capcom Vancouver. They're heading back to Japan. They're getting out of Canada.
Headline: Capcom closing Vancouver studio. Publisher confirms plan to consolidate major development in Japan after announcing a $40 million expense on canceled projects.
Yeah, that's
This
rough.
is a representative sent this following comment to GameIndustry.biz. Capcom is currently reviewing the allocation of its development resources that support the production of world-class content. Capcom has been focused on increasing the efficiency and growth of its game development operations. To support this objective, new R&D facilities and annual hiring have been underway at the Osaka headquarters. In consideration of this process, as a result of reviewing titles in development at Capcom Vancouver, Capcom has decided to cancel the development of projects at the studio and will concentrate development of major titles in Japan. As part of this overall direction, the CV studio will suspend operations effective today, so the current staff will be laid off and the office will be closed. Going on from the article itself now, the closure will affect 158 employees who will receive severance packages. Hey,
Wow,
fucking
good
TellTale.
news.
And, quote, a skeleton crew, end quote, is expected to stay on board until January to hand over logistics of the closing studio. This in itself would have been what led the news this week.
Yeah.
But this is still fucked up. It sucks when people lose jobs, as I said, 150 people, but at least it's not like, oh, you're all fired, here's your put on your get your shit and get out. It seems to be handled a little bit better than the TellTale situation.
Yeah, mildly, it's still shitty because a bunch of people lost their jobs, but it's less of a get out, you don't get any money, good luck on your adventures in this crazy expensive city. Though, Vancouver's not the cheapest place in the world to live either.
No, and they also had their own restructuring earlier this year. They laid 50 people off, I believe, in February.
But there has been a lot of cancellations out of that studio, like games that they were going to work on that just never came out, and all they've really done is like the remasters of Dead Rising and Dead Rising 4.
And Puzzle Fighter. That was the other thing they did.
And Puzzle Fighter.
And they were technically working on an unannounced game, which we will not have the details on because it was unannounced and it's just going to get buried or handed off to another studio. My gut tells me Dead Rising 5 probably, because that is what that studio does. Or did.
I mean, that's the only thing that Capcom would actually let them release at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks because I feel like Capcom's in a good place and they have properties that are doing well, and they're listening to fans, and they're actually making some money. So it's weird to hear of them just shutting down one of their studios. But it looks like they're refocusing on what their core franchises were, the ones that made them popular in the first place. And I don't know that there was a big market for Dead Rising 4 or a Dead Rising 5.
Dead. I was about to say something else. Dead Rising 5 or 4 rather was pretty contentious amongst the fans because they brought back Frank West, but you weren't playing as Frank West from what I can understand, and it was a completely different voice actor, so it just pissed a lot of people off. Think DMC compared to Devil May Cry kind of levels of fanboy outrage.
Yeah, just it didn't appeal to the core audience, and those people are really the only ones that wanted to play another Dead Rising game.
No, and I like the Dead Rising games, but I don't...
I do too, but I didn't need 4 of them.
Yeah, and I don't need to buy one every year or every other year. I would buy one every generation is what I would do.
Yeah, I get it. It's like a Muso game.
Yeah.
I don't need to play another whatever Warriors game. I don't need to kill more zombies in a mall or outside in a street or put chainsaws on a shopping cart while I'm dressed in a chicken suit. That shit's hilarious, but I've done it.
Absolutely sucks. And I feel a little bad for the Capcom.
I don't know why I'm
Vancouver
bitching
guys.
about Dead Rising when a bunch of people just lost their jobs. I'm an asshole. Sorry, guys.
I was about to say, I feel bad for the Capcom Vancouver guys because they lost their jobs and that sucks. But then the TellTale thing, the way that was handled is like sucked all the oxygen away from them. So all the TellTale people are getting offered jobs while the Vancouver guys are just like,
Oh no, a lot of the job offers are going to both.
Okay,
There's a lot of people that are saying, hey, Capcom, hey, TellTale, here's our hiring manager, here's our website, here's where our job listing is, let us know what you're good at, we'll see if we can fit you somewhere.
Yeah, so
that's actually been my favorite part of the whole story, is how many companies are reaching out and trying to get these people jobs. So that's nice. That's something.
2 things to keep in mind. 1, between these 2 studios, roughly 500 people lost their jobs in less than a week. So just have a little bit of sympathy and empathy online if you see one of these guys venting a little bit. 2, do not let any pretentious asshole say you should feel bad for being upset that a game was canceled or that TellTale took your money and ran. Because yes, you can have sympathy for people who be fired and feel like you got fucking cheated because TellTale just took $20 from you and bolted out the door. And there seems to be this backlash of people going, yeah, that sucks, but it also sucks that I just had $20 taken from me. And it's like, yeah, that does fucking suck. Don't let these assholes go, oh, you should feel bad for the people who got fired. Yeah, you should have some empathy for them, but we can chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. It is possible to be upset at more than once. Feel 2 simultaneous
emotions?
Yes. This can happen.
Be mad at the CEOs and shareholders that let a company run to the ground so that they had to fire everybody, and also be sad that all those people got fired.
Yes, and be upset that those games are never coming to light. You can do all of this. You can be upset at all of it. And don't let some asshole tell you otherwise or try to make you feel bad that you're pissed off a game isn't coming out because you're not giving the, proper reverence to the people who lost their jobs. Fuck
now,
you,
if you're
guys.
Yelling and bitching at the people who lost their jobs, telling them that it's their
that's
fault
different.
that your game's not coming out,
that's
then
different.
You're a piece of shit, and you need to get off the fucking internet.
And don't target the poor social media guy that works at TellTale either, because that guy found out he's only working it for another week, but he still has to run the accounts for that week.
Man, that's bad.
Long story short, you can be pissed off about a whole bunch of things at once, and don't let people go, you're not upset enough at this one topic. Fuck off.
Always remember, especially if you're American, you can be as angry as many things as you want. Pretty sure that's in the Bill of Rights.
Goddamn right. All right.
Oh, God.
Let's move on to some lighter news as we go on through the week.
Some Lovecraftian news. Anything? No?
No.
Okay. No.
Well, go ahead.
You want to talk about THQ Nordic?
Sure. Let's talk about THQ Nordic. So
they're doing that thing that they like to do that we keep getting almost excited about and then immediately remember that they're buying up franchises like nobody's business and have yet to really act on any of them. They've done a couple of things, right?
They gave you the Red Faction remaster, which is amazing.
We got a Saints Row 3 coming out on Switch soon.
Yep.
We got Titan Quest on Switch and every other damn thing, and that game got a DLC after 11 years. And The newest thing, directly from THQ Nordic's Twitter, we are happy to announce that THQ Nordic has acquired the IPs for Alone in the Dark, a Lovecraftian survival horror game series, and Act of War, a real-time strategy game featuring a story by New York Times bestselling author Dale Brown from Atari.
Now, most people probably know Alone in the Dark at this point from the horrible way that Atari treated that franchise over the past few years.
Although, before you close that Twitter, I require you to scroll down slightly so you can get that great THQ Nordic Thanos picture.
I have already closed it, unfortunately, but let me
it.
see what I can do.
It's so good.
Let's see if I can actually.
It's my favorite thing of all the internet reactions.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
He had to share that with everybody. It's my favorite.
Let me pull this up here.
It's basically just Thanos with THQ Nordic on his face.
I mean, that is kind of
IPs that they've been buying as the Infinity Gauntlet.
That is a good response. That is a good response. So yeah, THQ Nordic keeps gobbling up these IPs. Recently, Kingdoms of Amular Reckoning, Second Sight, Time Splitters, all this stuff we want to see happen. And it's coming from companies that kind of abuse these old properties. Like I was about to say, the Alone of the Dark game, that franchise, the last game, and it was a horrible, terrible 4-player Left 4 Dead knockoff, but that no one was playing even on launch. Mm-hmm. I remember someone showing, I can't remember who it was. It was some YouTube reviewer guy. Name escapes me right now. But he played that game day it launched, trying to find any kind of multiplayer game, and no one would fucking join because no one was playing it. The day of launch. The time before that, you had that weird Alone in the Dark reboot that was taking place in Central Park, which it wasn't bad. I actually kind of liked it, but it didn't do too well. And the reason why the fact that that franchise has suffered so much is upsetting to me is because what a lot of people don't know is that Alone in the Dark is the grandfather of survival horror as we know it. Sorry, Resident Evil, that game beat you by about 2 or 3 years.
It's true. It did.
And it plays, Resident Evil plays almost like Alone in the Dark did. It's almost I don't want to say clone, but it is clearly inspired by that game.
Something tank controls.
Yes. As for Act of War, it was a small-time RTS that I really liked. It was modern day, set a lot of city combat, nothing really to write home about, but I would like to see it continue on, and that's what THQ seems to be doing. They're just buying up all these licenses and doing what with them? I don't even know why.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to when they picked up Darksiders, because that took a while, and we had remasters of the first and second game, and we have Darksiders 3 coming out, which actually looks pretty damn good. Saw the packs.
Yeah, I'm somewhat interested in Darksiders 3,
that's something.
But that's it.
A game that looks way better than it has any reason to is Biomutant. I thought nothing of that game when it was first announced. I thought it was just nonsense, but I'm actually probably going to play it because, hey, guess what? It's actually kind of fun.
Biomutant has a strange amount of buzz for being what it is.
It's because it's kind of fun, and THQ Nordic is sitting in this cool place where they can actually release a bunch of, like, A or AA style games in between the tiny indies and the AAA games, and that like $30 game window is pretty light right now, and it also happens to be where a lot of games I really love come from. So maybe it takes them some time, or maybe they're just sitting on IPs and they're going to sell them later for money. I don't know, but if we get even half of the shit they bought just remastered or comes out, or hell, I get a sequel to something, I'll be pretty damn happy with it.
I get a distinct feeling. I would love to know how much they're paying for some of these IPs. Like, how much did THQ Nordic pay for the Act of War IP?
Well, I mean, how much did Nordic pay for THQ in the first place?
Exactly.
Because that's the thing, is we keep talking about THQ, like, THQ's back, THQ. This whole time, this has just been Nordic. THQ is dead and gone. Nordic
this
just
was
bought
Nordic
the name,
Games that bought the name and called themselves after a failed game company, which I don't get. Why do you name yourself after a company that failed?
Why not? Because THQ had heart, man. THQ was for the players. THQ made some bad decisions, but
THQ
Nordic
made you draw.
yeah. They're just going to stay away from that.
You know, of all the THQ properties, I wonder if actually Nordic bought U-Draw. If you know in the chat or comments, please let us know down in the comments or chat below if THQ actually owns U-Draw. I'd be very curious to know.
They didn't.
That'd be hilarious if they bought all of THQ except U-Draw. I get the feeling that this company is quickly going to become an IP troll farm. They're going to become like Atari, where they just hold on to all of this shit and they go, does anyone want to make a game where it lets you use the license for cheap? And they don't care what shit comes out. I mean, that might be...
I feel like they've already done more than Atari has.
That might be judging them a little harshly, but I can't shake the feeling that that is just what this is going to turn into. Just nothing but a shovelware factory, because they're not doing anything with this stuff yet. They're just kind of sitting around on it. My gut tells me they're shopping it around to a bunch of low-end developers saying, hey, do you want your crappy little mobile game to have elements with Destroy All Humans in there? Well, it can for the low price of like 10% of what you make, or 20 grand or something here. That's just my gut. I could be completely wrong on that, but I would really like to have some kind of idea what they're going to be doing with all of these IPs they're gobbling up.
You want them just to release like a timeline? Like, here's our game plan. We're buying this, we're buying this, we're buying this. Here's what we're actively working on. Here's things that are in the foreseeable calendar of what we want to work out. And here's stuff that we're just buying to sit on for a rainy day.
I don't even need that. I just want them to tell me something other than Darksiders or a remaster. I want them to go, hey, yeah, we remember how we owned...
Literally think of something that came out 10 years ago.
Time Splitters. Hey, we bought Time Splitters, and we're thinking of making a game for it. But what they're doing is literally just buying any IP they can find for a cheap price and just sitting on it. I don't even think they know what they're doing. I think that they're just like, let's just gobble up everything we can as fast as we can for as cheap as we can, and then we will sort it all out and go from there. I would not be surprised if you saw THQ Nordic resell a lot of these IPs to someone else.
Well, they haven't done it yet, so stop breaking the dream.
I can't help it. At this point, I just am so negative on THQ Nordic. I mean, they have a lot of goodwill from people because they are, quote-unquote, saving franchises, but you ain't saving nothing if you ain't doing anything with it. It's time for THQ Nordic to shit or get off the pot, as the young kids like to say.
I mean, yeah, I guess they do need to start remastering some of these old games.
I
mean, really, who likes to even play old games? I mean, have you gone back to look at any old video games? Some of them just look so bad. Who would even play something like that?
Old game is old.
Old games are so old.
But to get to move on to what you're getting at, David, PlayStation is joining the Nintendo Sega craze of retro resurgence, as it were, and they are releasing their own PlayStation Mini console. Look at that little cute little bastard.
It's literally the same damn photo that Nintendo used for the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure they photoshopped that PlayStation into the same damn hand.
Uh-oh. There we go. Introducing PlayStation Classic with 20 preloaded games featuring Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Wild Arms, and 17 other legendary titles. The new console launches December 3rd at an MSRP of $100. That seems way fucking overpriced to me.
It's harder to make. The memory alone for some of these games is going to cost more than the NES Classic did. A lot of the PlayStation games is when we moved to CD as opposed to cartridges, which means the storage capacity was much higher. Final Fantasy VII alone is like 500 megabytes or something like that, which is the size of the whole damn NES. So just for memory, it's going to cost more. I mean, someone's going to rip this thing apart, and it's probably going to cost them in total like $50 to make, because that's how all this shit works. But who knows? It could be that they have to work on some kind of processor. The price is less what I'm worried about. The price is the fact that I can pre-order this shit right now, and all of the games we know about are Final Fantasy VII, Jumping Flash, Ridge Racer Type 4, Tekken 3, and Wild Arms. I'm going to need the rest of that list.
Yeah, right now there's nothing on that list that's really selling to me, and that's a quarter of it already. Final Fantasy VII, of course, big classic, but who doesn't own that on 100 different platforms at this point?
The Final Fantasy VII is on every damn thing. It's also coming out on Switch.
Wild Arms is kind of a surprise. I'm shocked to see that on there, which gives me hope for the rest of the list. So we have 15 games to play with, David.
Yeah.
What else should be on here?
Do you want like an answer?
I don't need 15 games
from potentially realistic, or do you want the game that they could put on it that I would buy it for?
Look, give me both.
Well, if we're being realistic, I'm assuming it's going to have Gran Turismo or Gran Turismo 2 or both.
Yeah, let's keep it in the realm of realism. So Gran Turismo,
probably Resident Evil 1 and 2.
I don't think so about that. because Capcom is so big on re-releasing those over and over again anyways. If you pick one, it might be Resident Evil 2. Because
the problem
you have
is that in
coming up.
order for the PlayStation Classic to be good, it has to rely on a bunch of third-party games. Nintendo has the fallback of Nintendo makes a shit ton of games. The PlayStation games that you can get, that list is much damn smaller.
It is, but we already see some of that because you have Final Fantasy VII, and that's a Square game. You have Tekken 3 and Ridge Racer; those are Namco games. Jumping Flash, I think, was Sony itself. Let me take a look here. Jumping Flash it was Sony itself, and Wild Arms was, I want to say that company doesn't even exist anymore, but I could be completely wrong on that.
Yeah,
Wild Arms was actually, wow, Wild Arms was Sony. I did not know Sony developed Wild Arms themselves.
Yeah, games you need Parappa the Rapper, you need Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Crash Bandicoot, I guess. Metal Gear Solid is a fucking guarantee. If that game's not on there, this entire thing is worthless.
You would think so, but you got the Konami factor to look in here, and Konami's kind of got to be Konami. But you're right.
Metal Gear Solid's not on this console, then this console's garbage.
Yeah, it would. If you want to release something that is celebrating the history of Sony, Metal Gear Solid has to be on here.
The problem is you gotta call Konami. I mean, you need Castlevania.
Symphony of the Night would definitely be a welcome addition on here. Legend of a Dragoon, if you want to keep it with Sony properties.
And then you gotta call Square.
If this
Vagrant Story, Xenogears, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Now you're moving into games that I don't think would actually be on here, but I would like to see on here. For example,
Vagrant also back Story. To Konami, Suikoden 2.
No way that's going to be on here, but...
Nope. Also, here's the big thing that you know is not going to be on there. Ape Escape. Something that would be fucking perfect.
Why wouldn't it be on
because
here?
It's one of the best damn PlayStations.
Why would it be on here?
Because, my friend who doesn't pay that much attention, if you look at that Sony Mini, you'll notice that the controller that it comes with is the original Luffy-style controller that does not have any goddamn DualShock.
Yeah, I guess that rules that out because Ape Escape's the one controller that requires the one game that requires a DualShock controller.
You've got some D-pad action. You've got some face buttons. You got L1, L2, R1, and R2. So you're limited. Anything that requires a joystick, you absolutely cannot play.
Let's think about...
Which, there's a lot that you can play. Ape Escape is really the only thing that actually required the right joystick. Everything else just used the left stick as the D-pad. To be fair, it wasn't until the PlayStation 2 that we started using both of the joysticks. I actually was like, sure there was more games, and then I started researching it. And I'm like, oh no, yeah, I guess that's right. I just don't know what time it is.
Let's think about games that we would like to see on here, but seem unlikely for some reason.
Threads of Fate.
Threads of Fate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd buy this shit for Threads of Fate.
By
the way, there's a secret Threads of Fate 2. Man, I would buy 6 of these things.
I want to see the old Psygnosis catalog on here. And I've talked about this before. Colony Wars, G-Police. Give me those. How about one of the Strike games? Do you remember those Strike games? The Helicopter Strike? They were Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be good on here. PlayStation 1 games. Siphon Filter. That's Sony property itself. That'd be dumb not to have that on here. You have the PlayStation 1 is arguably one of, if not the best home for JRPGs. There was a massive JRPG renaissance on that console. So you have, of course, the obvious Final Fantasies, but that's when you start talking about things that I want to see, like Suikoden 1 and 2, Xenogears, Vagrant Story, Vandal Hearts, Final Fantasy Tactics.
There's some Ace Combats you could play on there.
There's Ace Combat, known over here as Air Combat, and there was Ace Combat 2 and 3, but I don't think any one of those will actually be... Well, Air Combat might be.
I mean, we could always tap FromSoft, and we could get the Armored Core games.
No way.
I still own the original PlayStation Armored Core games because I loved them.
Armored Core... FromSoft doesn't even know what Armored Core is anymore.
Yeah, they like to pretend that they never did that, which really upsets me. But there you go.
But are any of these games worth spending $100 on to get?
And here's the problem. This is the question, and this is the thing that I've been wondering about ever since we had the NES Classic and then the confirm of the Super NES Classic. We're entering the 3D world of
a lot of
these
this stuff doesn't hold
consoles.
up as well as I remember.
A lot of these games look like absolute shit. Play like
Yeah.
absolute shit. They are fantastic in your memory. The remasters of these games are glorious, and some of them are still great, still totally playable. But if you plug this thing into your TV, which back in the day, everyone's biggest TV was like, man, we got a 28-inch TV in the living room. We got a. I played most of these games probably on like a 12-inch TV, to be real. And I have like a 50-inch TV in my living room now. These games are not gonna look great when I can count the polygons.
Not just only not look great, but I know I know Final Fantasy VII is beloved. I know people love that game. It is real hard for me to go back to that game from not only a visual standpoint, because my eyes has been trained to expect a higher fidelity. Everything just looks so blurry these days, but it does not control well. The pacing is all kinds of off. And sure,
Like
Ridge
the
Racer
the
type
Super
form-
Nintendo Classic is the only one I actually bought because those games are, to me, the end of the 2D era. So there's games that still look and play great because they're the end of a technology. 3D is where we still are.
Yeah,
And
and the early
this stuff
days
is
of
just
the early days of stuff are really rough. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tomb Raider was on here. Think about how the first Tomb Raider looked then. Looked really cool. Then go watch a video of it now.
and then go watch a video of Shadow the Tomb Raider, and try and tell me you're willing to go back.
Yeah, and I don't want to compare today's game to yesterday's game, but just
I do.
play it. Visually is one thing, but the polygon's rough. But just play it. Try playing Tomb Raider today. It is frustratingly hard because we are used to
the
a more
RPGs will
responsive
hold up the
control scheme.
best because a lot of it's just turn-based and
Yep.
reading text bosses, so that's fine. Platformers kind of have to have good mechanics in the first place, but a lot of the good PlayStation platformers we're getting remasters of.
Yeah, we're getting
That Crash
Spyro and
Bandicoot game
Crash.
is still selling fantastic because you don't have to go bust out a PS1 to play them.
Right. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon were both on here in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean Crash Bandicoot kind of has to be. I still say you need Gran Turismo. I don't know, Spyro, Tony Hawk, maybe Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Yeah.
World.
But think about the games.
Maybe Dino Crisis, huh?
I mean, I would love to see. There was grumbling of them working on Dino Crisis again recently, if I recall, and I
Maybe
would
someone
love to
should
see
call
that franchise
Neversoft.
come back.
We could see the real PlayStation Spider-Man game.
But just think about the games that would work with this well and still play well and be entertaining. They're all games you can get right now, like Symphony of the Night. I can go to PlayStation. I think I can go to PSN right now and buy Symphony of the Night on its own. There's nothing special about including that in there other than, yes, it'll be nice to have all this in one location, but there's nothing. There's not a void for that game. That that game has a place still. You can still find it. You can still pick it up. You can still buy it. There's no weird empty area in the marketplace for that game. It has been filled in multiple platforms. So I really need to see what the other 15 games here on this. And the 5 they presented, really only Wild Arms and maybe Jumping Flash are worth going back to. Because Tekken 3 and Ridge Racer 4 fall into that polygon era of, man, this looks rough. And Final Fantasy 7, while I count in that group, a lot of people don't. But still, name me a platform, period, that doesn't have Final Fantasy 7.
Or won't soon.
Or won't
I
soon.
can play that game on my damn phone.
So this is a rough sell to me so far, as cool as it sounds at first. Unless they get really obscure with it and like go through my backlist of what does Stephen Brown want in his fucking PlayStation Mini and release that. But that's going to keep anyone else from enjoying it. Because then you have like Space Griffin and the fucking G Police and Kodelka and just the really obscure shit that no one played. So, yeah, the only games I can think of that would be targeted a mass market are games I don't want to play again or have access to in any multiple format. But we'll see how this shakes out. If this is coming December 3rd, they're going to have to release that list no later than the October because they're going to want those Black Friday pre-orders.
And there you go. One thing I absolutely have to bring up is a little article that we covered quite a long time ago. I'm talking something that happened in June 2017 when Time Magazine had an interview with Sony about the future of PlayStation.
Okay.
And if you recall, they talked to Sean Layden and Jim Ryan of Sony, and there's a quote
Oh, shit. I
Jim
remember
said
this.
that I absolutely have to bring up because it's perfect. And keep in mind that this is after the NES Classic came out. This is when we kind of knew the rumblings of the Super Nintendo. And Jim Ryan said this in the Time interview. When we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested, but not actually used much. That, and I was at a Gran Turismo event recently where they had PS1, PS2, PS3, and PS4 games, and the PS1 and PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this? Jim Ryan, at least then, was Sony's head of global sales and marketing, which is kind of fantastic that he basically shit on the entire idea of playing old games a year ago. And here you have the PlayStation Classic.
Sorry about that interruption there, David. I went to find the webpage that you're reading on here so I can find this Time article, and like an advertisement started playing in the background. And it really caught me off guard because it was all in chiptune.
Ruined everything. But anyway, Sony's hilarious, and I really like finding examples of company hypocrisy. It's really easy to do a lot of the time, but this is one that I just absolutely had to bring up because I thought it was flippantastic.
You make a good point, and yeah, apparently
they're like, hey, we can't do backwards compatible nonsense. Your PS4 can kind of play some games, and other than that, go fuck yourself. Hilarious. Oh, but if you want to play our old games, here you go, buy this thing. It's $100.
I completely forgot about that until you started talking about it. Yeah, that's fun times. All right, David.
Oh, Sony in hubris mode.
It's what they do best. Let's round out the night with a bit of a sad story, but nowhere near as bad as the other things because it's not like this man's dying or anything like that. He's just kind of taking a sabbatical at the moment. Famed video game composer Nobou Uematsu. He's the guy who did all the Final Fantasy, well, not all of them, but most of the Final Fantasy game soundtracks. We're very familiar with his work. We've all heard it in some way, shape, or form. He is taking a sabbatical from working due to his health, but it's not as dire as it seems, as that makes it sound to be. This is from his blog itself, translated into English, so if there's a weird translation error, just keep that in mind. To my dearest fans, since the establishment of Dog Ear Records, I have found myself blessed with countless opportunities. From composing new works to holding concerts around the world, my days have been hectic, yet fulfilling. The resulting fatigue, however, has finally caught up with me, and I find it mentally and physically difficult to go on at my current pace. After giving serious consideration to all options, I have decided to take an extended leave of absence and give my mind and body the time they need to properly mend. If I am to return, I want to do so in full health. Do not worry, once I've made a full recovery, I will go back to doing what I do best. While my current plan is to rest for the remainder of the year, and while I cannot commit to a method or time frame for my return, I am very hopeful. And then he goes on to apologize about, hey, sorry, and everything like that, because he's a super nice guy who's like, I'm sorry that I'm like stressed to the infinity and I'm just going to take a break because I've been working nonstop for 30 years.
I mean, the dude's 60, and he's been basically churning out pretty amazing game soundtracks since 1986.
Yeah.
It's just what he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Just rocking it.
So,
I mean,
when I first heard that because the articles are spinning this as he is going on sabbatical for health reasons, and I mean, that's technically true, but you hear that and you think, oh shit, he's got like cancer or something like that. That doesn't seem to be the case here. He's just like, I'm tired. Give me a break. And he actually hasn't been working with the company for a long time. He's been freelance for the past few years. Just freelance that gets contracted by Square all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he still did music for Final Fantasy 15. He's doing music for the Final Fantasy 7 remake. At least he's credited for it. Although one thing I didn't realize that he worked on actually was that Oceanhorn game, which is kind of cool.
Oceanhorn, is that the Zelda-ish, not like clone, the Zelda clone?
That's that game that's very Zelda-y, but not actually Zelda.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Very interesting.
The one that plays like Wind Waker.
That was a good game, actually. I mean, not great, but it was good.
Yeah.
But anyways, we wish you the best of luck and a speedy recovery there, Nobou Uematsu. Get all the rest you need. Take it easy. You've already done more than your lion's share of a contribution to video games, and I would hate to see you retire, but honestly, if you're just sitting back, fishing, drinking a beer, and you're like, you know what, I like this, totally understandable if you make this permanent. It would be sad, of course, but hey, you've earned your break, in my opinion, at this point.
I mean, if you want to take a break and then come back and go on a Black Mages tour, I'm fine with that too.
Anyways,
you do you.
we won't know if he's coming back at least until early next year, it sounds like, though.
That's
true. 3-4 months from now, we'll get word. To fill in the void between now and then, if there was something that I could play right now to distract me until I had information on this news, whether he's coming back or not, what could I play that was coming out this week?
Oh, we got a few things coming out this week. As you know, it is approaching that autumn season where all the damn games come out, and we're slowly getting there. We're not in full swing yet, but it's not a bad week. One thing, if you are sitting on a PS4 or an Xbox One, that you should just fucking buy is Hollow Knight Voidheart Edition.
Now, you love Hollow Knight.
I do. I've been playing it on Switch. It came out on PC a while ago, and it's good. It's a like Metroidvania-ish action platformer. It's 2D. It looks amazing. The soundtrack's fantastic. The gameplay's solid. It does have some Dark Souls styled concepts in it.
You hate relating anything to that game.
I just hate the term Souls-like. Pisses me off.
Fair enough.
I understand that this is a game that you can play, and if you die, you lose your experience currency, whatever the hell you want to call it, and you respawn at a save point. You can go back to where you died and get that shit back. That's what it has in common. It's decently difficult, but what side-scrolling action platformer isn't? This version has all of the add-on content that's been released, and that's one of the things that's great about Hollow Knight is they add on content. This isn't paid DLC. This is just more shit they've added. So we have all 4 content packs, which adds, I think, a total of like 20 some odd extra bosses. Keeping in mind that the base game already took probably 70 hours to get 100% on, so there's a lot of shit to do here. A lot of shit. And that game's rad. If you have any interest in side-scrolling platformers or action games or things that look pretty or things that sound nice, just play Hollow Knight and ignore the rest of my list. But I'm going to keep going anyway.
No. There's at least one game on this list I'm super excited for.
Oh, no. There's one game on this list. I'm hoping that it's on the store so I can buy it as soon as I stop talking to you. That is going to be the last game I talk about, but we'll get there. Also coming out this week, we have Life is Strange 2, Episode 1. That's an awkward title to get through. For PS4, Xbox One, and PC, this is the sequel to Life is Strange and that little mini free middle episode before the storm. This is a big story-based adventure game. It's got a large following. I believe the voice actors in this one are different because this is one of the games that got hit.
Yeah, it did get screwed with the writer's strike. I think Ashley Birch, I want to say, was one of the main characters to it, and the writer's strike screwed this up, but she's still on as a consultant for the character. I never played any of the Life is Strange games. They never spoke to me.
Well,
but yeah,
story-based adventure games can be a big deal, but if you need something a little more down-to-earth and just more... I don't know, I guess visceral.
Before we move on, by the way, a little bit soured on the episodic content thing now with the TellTale stuff going down. Because you never know when Don't Mod's just going to fucking explode.
Episodic stuff is interesting, but I don't believe it actually translates to better sales for anything. We can just look at that last Hitman game.
Yeah, that's why they're like, let's just go full release.
Or TellTale's entire catalog. Hey, look at that. Turns out you should just release one big-ass game. Also coming out this week, South Park The Stick of Truth hits Switch. This is the first of the new, very much a South Park episode South Park games. Fractured Butthole actually already came out on Switch when it released for everything else, so this is just a chance to pick up the first one.
Those games are surprisingly good. If you look back at the old
catalog
like
of
South Park games,
you have no reason not to like these games.
Yeah,
it plays out like an episode. It looks exactly like a flippin' episode. This is the one that is fantasy-based, not superhero-based.
I can't think of many games that legitimately just made me laugh out loud, and this is one of them. And to tie it back into TellTale conversations, Tales from the Borderlands was another.
All right. Well, while you're playing South Park, you can also think of the children. Yes, this is a Helen Lovejoy sponsored game coming out for PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. That's not true. It's not related to Simpsons at all, but it does have a mostly positive rating on Steam. This is a game where you play as a parent who's pretty shitty at it, and your whole job is to keep kids alive. Uh, I like the tag for this because it's ridiculous. Little Bobby's dead, the barbecue's on fire, Jen's eating poisonous berries, and the birthday cake still needs icing. It's just another wonderful day out with the kids. Ready, set, parent. This is a nonsense co-op parenting simulator, and you're trying to keep your kids happy and also not dead. Good luck.
Okay.
We have This is the Police 2, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Dude, this game's published by THQ. Look, they're not doing nothing. They're doing stuff. Interpret the laws you see fit. Run the sheriff's department. Manage your cops. Make tough decisions. Try and keep yourself out of prison. It's a story-driven adventure strategy, turn-based tactical combat. The This is Police game is a little ridiculous in how it's played. It's kind of a simulator. It's kind of it's kind of a lot of things, but it's really story-driven, and you play as a sheriff named Lily Reed, who is voiced by Sarah Hamilton from The Longest Journey. And you have to team up with a few...
Sarah Hamilton from Terminator? Oh, no, that's Linda Hamilton. Shit.
Yes. But I'm not done talking about the credits. You also have to team up with a fugitive criminal named Jack Boyd, voiced by, oh yes, Mr. John St. John. Duke Nukem himself.
To kick ass and chew bubblegum.
Is your partner in this.
Met that man. Actually, very pleasant guy.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He is like one of maybe 100 people that still legitimately love Duke Nukem.
Yeah. I never stopped believing. I also didn't play that other game. So
I'm told This is Police 1 is entertaining. So, I mean, I saw this and I kind of went, man, that's right. I got to play the first one again. It's just one of those games that fell into that category of looks
game
cool.
Sneaks out.
I'll get to it eventually and just never do.
Well, there you go. We also have coming out Time Spinner for PS4, PC, and Vita. Look at that. Vita getting games. It's amazing. This is an indie adventure RPG. This game, I think, actually looks great. You kind of jump around in time. It's got a story-driven adventure inspired by 90s action platformers. It looks like a Super Nintendo fantasy Mega Man. That's the vibe I get when I watch it. But you also, like, spend time and do all kinds of nonsense. And you fight bosses in locked-in rooms. And I kind of want to play it.
Yeah, I'm sold on the art style, for sure. It looks...
My only issue with this game, and this is something that I bring up every damn week, it's not on Switch.
No, it's not. But this strikes me as, and by no means could it potentially play this, but I look at these screenshots, and I see Symphony of the Night. I see like it's hard for me to put my finger on it, but I see Symphony of the Night when I look at this game. It definitely looks inspired.
And it is a Metroidvania. That's how they built themselves. Is it officially? Okay, well, goddamn it. Our cup runneth over on Metroidvanias, and they have all, like, there have been so many good ones, and it's kind of rough to go through them all, but goddamn, it's a good time if you're a fan of that genre. Except for if you're on Switch, then you gotta wait.
Yeah, well.
Also coming out this week. Now, I did mention this game a couple weeks ago, but it's coming out again, this time on PC. That's V-Rally 4. This has been on consoles for a little bit now. I believe I mentioned the first time. This is a sequel to a rally game that came out in 2002. That's when V-Rally 3 came out.
So it is the same one. Okay.
Yes.
Just a PC release.
But now we have the console editions to look at, and this game is not reviewing well. It's got like a 58 on Metacritic or a 5.5 from fans. It's a very arcadey rally racing game that's from the early 2000s. And that's exactly what it feels and plays like. If you loved those early 2000s, very arcadey, slippery, cars feel outrageously light rally games, then this could be tons of fun. You could play it for an hour or 2 hours and enjoy it. But if you're looking for any kind of sim-based racing game, this is not for you at all. Don't expect a deep career mode. Don't expect a ton of cars. Don't expect a ton of courses or anything like that. But if you just like playing racing games in third person and throwing cars all over, then, do whatever you like. Enjoy yourself.
So yeah, that's what I want to drive home with that one, is if you like this kind of game, go for it. Don't always trust what Metacritic goes by, because Two
Dude,
of
some of my favorite
games
games have shit Metacritic reviews, for sure.
Naughty Bear sitting at a 43, and goddamn do I love Naughty Bear. Did you ever play Naughty Bear?
No.
Okay, so I'll give you the quick dime store pitch to it. You are a teddy bear who has anger issues, and you're never invited for Teddy Bear's picnic, and so they all go off and have a wonderful time without you. So you decide to get revenge. So you pick up a knife and you murder the shit out of some teddy bears.
Okay.
And that is Naughty Bear in a nice, tight summary. It is just, I don't know why I like it.
Well, there you go. And lastly, coming out this week, something that I'm so flippin' excited for. I've been waiting for this game for way longer than I should have, considering that all the other sequels were on damn handhelds.
All but one of them.
And yet I'm going to buy this one on a handheld anyway. But Valkyria Chronicles 4 comes out this week for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch.
Super excited for this one myself.
This is an instant damn buy for me. I loved the original Valkyria Chronicles. I never played the other ones because they were on, I think, PSP or Vita or something.
They were on PSP, and same here. I think they were on PSP.
And I just never got around to them because I wanted to sit down and just put time in this game. It is a really cool kind of action turn-based strategy game where you actually control the characters while you run around. But the way the game looks, the way the game sounds is just, it's so flippin' good. And I actually did get some time with this game at PAX. I think this game has a demo and it's the same thing I played. At least if you're looking at it on Switch. And it's
Introspect in chat
it's
says
exciting.
that the demo on Switch is awesome. I didn't know there was a demo on Switch, so I really need to take a look at it because this is one of those games that might be amazing on the Switch.
Yeah, but this is like the true sequel to the first game. The first game was on console. The next two were not. Valkyria Chronicles 4 brings it back. Like I said, I'm probably going to pick this up on Switch so I can play it on the go, but mostly I want to play it on the TV, but I just, I like having that option.
Fair enough. I might actually pick it up for PC. I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet, but I am going to look to see what I want to buy it for tonight. But yeah, if I were to pick a game this week, it would definitely be Valkyria Chronicles 4, assuming that I have time to
actually,
play it.
If you're picking a game this week and you have PS Plus, you should just pick up Hollow Knight because I know you haven't played it yet, and it's like $11, you ass.
Fair enough.
It's so good. It's so worth it, and it's so flippin' cheap. It's a $15 game normally, and you're going to get so much time out of it.
Fair enough.
So much time.
Anyways,
you just hate side-scrolling.
I think that wraps up new releases of note this week, which means that we are at the end of our show.
I'm out of stuff to talk about.
Thank you for watching GamePoints episode 145. We are an audience interactive podcast that streams live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. And we do appreciate when you can show up and join the conversation like Introspected here today. Good to have you here on time. I see a couple other lurkers out there. I won't necessarily call you out by name because you might just want to relax and kick back, but you're more than welcome to do so when you come by. We're just jazzed to have you here. If life gets in the way and you can't show up live, you can always check out our old shows at youtube.com/c/GamePointsPC, where I do slap up every old broadcast, as well as some reviews, a couple of news bits, etc. on there. Sometimes some just ranting at the camera as something just happened to piss me off for some reason. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow the show at GamePointsPC. You can follow myself, CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David there at Palstrife_Satori. Without further ado, this has been GamePoints 145. Thanks for dropping by, and until next week, we're out of here.